you battle with them also. Like, can we actually make our own tech platforms, or is it going to be this constant battle with the big guys?
I think we should be prepared for constant battle with the big guys. I am not in favor of closed systems. Even if China has succeeded to some extent by doing
Weibo
it.
and the others.
Yeah, because at some point in time, you will end up with the ambassador car problem.
Okay.
Okay. You will end up with shoddy products because you have a closed market. So I am a believer that while we should support our own and encourage them in various ways.
It didn't work, right? That coup started. It shut
No, it's
down.
okay.
And
But it was, I'm sorry, I did try to use it.
even I tried. It
So
didn't.
it wasn't world class.
And then
But
the
it's
other
okay.
one, Aratai.
So that is what. Now, I do not want an ambassador car problem. So I am okay with iterate till we get it right. It's okay.
Yes.
Be open. Be willing to support your own, but in an open system, so that the systems that you do ultimately generate are genuinely competitive and world class.
Yeah. I mean, we have done, to a large extent, this digital sovereignty that we keep talking about. Our UPI pay systems and things like that, it's something that the entire world is looking at.
Yes, because we did it we supported our own system, but at the same time, it was an open system. So I am a big believer that you have to support your own, but do not do it in a closed system. As I said, you will very quickly end up with a situation where your domestic entrepreneurs will focus on getting themselves protection, and rather than in investing in R&D and so on. And so a generation later, they will be more interested in sending their kids to set up family offices in Dubai than setting up labs in India.
So limited, I'm going to get to that part too. Limited outreach, limited regulation, or outreach with limited regulation?
So you keep regulation to the least that you can.
Okay.
Now, obviously, if there is clear misuse, even by an Indian, if a monopoly pops up, let's say, then be willing to crack down on it, because even an Indian monopoly may manipulate things for their own interests. Just because I am in favor of capitalism, do not confuse it with the interests of capitalists. Capitalism is not the sum total of the interests of capitalism.
So what is the democratic health of the country at this stage? Is it completely different from what these indices are showing us?
Absolutely.
Or is it? It is.
It is. I mean, we have now, since the emergency, we have not had any major breakdown in the transfer of power based on voting. People will debate in a democracy, that's fine. But rambunctious as it may be, we have been a successful democracy. And just because the results are not the ones that certain foreign think tanks think are in their favor, does not mean that we should.
You're saying it's just lazy research, or it's motivated research?
It is motivated research, because, as I told you, this whole layering process is done deliberately, and I've written about this too.
And why is it? I mean, I understand 200 years ago, not independent, when we were a colony. Then yes, you have a colonial master. Today, why would it?
We are an important part of the global geopolitical and geo-economic landscape, and this controlling us and putting it into a box is an important part of the agenda of other players. Even those who are our friends will not be necessarily happy to cede us space. So even those who may otherwise wish us well, so it's not like they are being bad. Even within families, you will have cousins and or friends, etc., who will may have been very nice to you growing up, but maybe somewhat uncomfortable if you become super successful. So the same problem, when you say Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, do remember that families have their own jealousies.
Sure.
So even those who may otherwise wish you well, may actually genuinely want you to reduce poverty and other things. They may, on the other hand, when it comes to ceding space at the global table, not be happy. So manipulating the global narrative in a certain way is an important thing that has been going on, by the way, from the beginning of time.
Yes.
So it's not a new thing. It is just that we used to take it as a given. But we should now begin to realize that we are now a big boy. We need to punch at our own weight. We can, begin to look at the global narrative and reverse the gaze. So, for example, if there are, you will find, for example, Khalistani causes raised in the UK
Canada,
Parliament or Canadian. I don't see why we shouldn't discuss Scottish independence or Quebec independence in the Indian Parliament.
Okay, that's being a bit ambitious because India traditionally has this, we don't interfere in issues.
We should not interfere with anyone who does not in any way interfere with us. That is true.
Yeah.
But I do think that there should be an idea of reciprocity that we should have.
Okay, have an opinion. Okay, when you were talking about, the Indian growth story and it makes other countries uncomfortable, we all grew up with the not grew up, I'd say that in the past 15 years or 20 years since liberalization, post-liberalization and things like that, what we were given to understand is that the Western world appreciates India's growth story, sees us as a partner. But is it making them uncomfortable that our growth trajectory is at a faster pace than they would like it to be?
Of course, as I said, even your friend, it's not necessary that they are wishing us ill in the sense that they may be okay with us removing poverty, etc., as long as we stay in our lane. Once we are big enough to be, and we are now big enough to be a major player, then you have to be willing to accept that it comes with the game changing. That you now your car is big enough to be not quite fit into the lane that has been designated
to
you.
So the West and America are forthcoming with their opinions. You kind of can gauge when they like your rise, when they don't. How does East Asia look at us? How does West Asia look at us? Apparently, the West Asian countries now want to be part of the India growth story.
So I don't think you should think of it as black and white.
Okay.
On certain issues, they may like it. If they want to sell you energy, they want a growing economy. They want to sell you arms, they may like a growing economy because you have more money to buy their arms or energy or so on. So it is not like, as I said, you are dealing with a world of frenemies. On some issues, they'll be friends. On other issues, they may not be. We should stop having this idea that, he is my chaddi yar, believe, and he will agree with me on every point. No, this is we need to be behave like adults.
For example, this voyage that you're taking and showing India as a maritime power, I'm sure countries in Southeast Asia are uncomfortable. For example, Singapore. They will look at it, right? Because they are a major...
Not necessarily. In fact, I have been talking with them. They are quite excited about the fact that we maybe want to do in 2026 a voyage to Southeast Asia, to the island of Bali. So if this voyage to Oman goes well, then the idea is to take the ship to the other coast and sail it from Odisha to literally recreate the very famous ancient voyage called Bali Jatra.
Okay.
So there is excitement. The question is, how do we engage with the rest of the world in a positive way and bring them onto our thing? So it's about engagement. So there's two ways of doing this. Either we, just because I'm standing up for India's interests does not mean that we have to then become jingoistic and push everybody else around. No. We have to look useful to other people's interests.
Okay. Let's go to the field or to the area of the mood of the Indian economy. How do you see it today? Are we really in the path of a long-term growth cycle, or is this an over-optimistic view of things?
So, long-term growth cycle in the sense that the opportunity is there. I mean, we are clearly growing very, very fast. The latest number, of course, came in at 8.2. For the quarterly number, my own thing is there are statistical reasons why it's running at above 8. But I think we are doing, on a sustainable basis, we are doing something like 7, which is not too bad given the overall global, disrupted global environment that we are dealing with. It's not a bad pace at all. So, are we in a long cycle? Well, some opportunities are there. For the demographics, for example, are in our favor for next 25 odd years. But this is not something that, naturally happens. It's not like you do one round of reforms in the beginning and then 25 years. It's a continuous process. You have to keep adjusting along the way. New situations arise. So this is a game that has to be actively played. So Do we have an opportunity to dramatically up ourselves over the next 25 years? Yes. Will it necessarily happen? Well, it depends on how we play. And so at this juncture, I think we are doing a decent job. To have these 8% type growth rates, even if it is for a quarter or two, with almost no inflation, is not trivial. And there are all other macro indicators also doing well, whether it's a banking system is fine.
You speak about demographic potential that we have. The big criticism is that India is growing without creating enough jobs. Explain this to me.
So this is actually not true. The best data we have on job creation is in fact the PLFS. Okay. Anybody else who is talking about is just giving anecdotal data. Oh, I have an uncle who has a son whose friend cannot find a job kind of data. Real data is PLFS. PLFS clearly suggests that there is growth in employment. There are other indicators as well, EPFO, etc. But PLFS is the best. But even the other ones also suggest. And the other simple one is just you go and talk to large companies and see, is it the case that they are able to hire easily at certain price points? And all of them will tell you that they are having to push up their wages, which tells you that the wage market must be, not certainly not weakening. If anything, it is tightening. And certainly, I think that is a fair thing because we also have done consumption driven surveys in recent years, and my colleague Shamika Ravi has written a paper on this recently. Yeah, and you can clearly see that the number of Indians who have got all kinds of things from fridges to some sort of a scooter or car, etc., has dramatically gone up in percentage terms. So the number of households in India who have using cell phones or various kinds of electronics or refrigerator and so on has dramatically gone up. And this is this is not just basic stuff. Like even a decade and a half ago, most Indians did not even have a toilet. And we now have a situation where most Indians actually, almost all Indians have a toilet at home. And in addition to that, have now got all these
access to potable water, those kind of things.
Things are getting done. Yeah. So to say that this is happening without any job creation is absolutely not a reflection of reality.
It's not any job creation, but like we need to create 80,000 jobs a day or something like that, and several lakh jobs a month.
So you have to be a little careful with those statistics.
Yeah,
but it is a large number. Because do remember there are people retiring, passing away and so on. So some natural job creation anyway happens. But we are a high growth country, and there is no example in history of any country growing for a long period of time and not generating jobs. This idea of jobless growth is an utterly fictitious idea.
Every country is fighting this. Whether it is the developed economies of the West or if it is struggling economies in Africa, everybody is struggling with trying to find solution to the jobless growth problem.
I am objecting to this idea. There is no such thing as jobless growth. All technology leads to a churn. Okay? So, for example, when you created the internet and so on, certain kinds of jobs got wiped out. But jobs like podcasters popped up. Who would have thought that social media's influencer or podcaster would be a job profile?
True.
Who thought that Zomato or ordering online would be a job profile? But these exist. So every technology will destroy some jobs. But the history of technology since the Industrial Revolution every time has created more jobs than it has destroyed. So far, it has not happened. Maybe something will change, but there is no evidence yet of more jobs not being created through these cycles.
Okay.
And so this is being true also here. We are creating enormous numbers of new jobs. Some of them are high quality jobs. After all, almost every large company in the world now has a GCC in India. Those are all jobs.
Yeah.
Right?
Who is it who just now said that whatever technology comes, plumbers will not be out of job in this country or in the world?
So this is the sort of thing Nassim Taleb says.
Yeah.
But the point is, yes, that is a high skill activity in a certain sense.
Yeah. So I'm coming to skill development, basically that.
Yeah, so the point is
to give respect to skill development in this country is
Yes.
again a big thing. BA karna hai, MA karna hai, PhD karna hai. This is the middle class India has grown up with.
Not
that
just middle
thinking.
class India, this has been true for the 20th century. By the way, till the 20th century, people going to university as a routine basis was a very rare thing. It was an elite activity. In fact, it was not even a signal of education but of wealth to go to university. So, what happens in the 20th century is that there's massification of university education. This is a 20th century phenomena. Now what you're seeing is technology is making the lecture-based university irrelevant, right? Because artificial intelligence is vastly superior at giving you lectures, even answering your questions. So now tertiary education has to be completely rethought. And that does not mean that there are no jobs. This is a problem for the skilling system. In fact, we now need to see a collapse between the idea of skilling and tertiary education.
Okay.
Earlier, skilling was seen as something that plumbers did, and tertiary education was where all the hi-fi people went and they did some great philosophical upgradation of intellectual upgradation. But we are just going to discover that that is going to collapse because you are going to see a situation where I can learn pretty much if anything about any subject online and get reasonably good at it. I can have random economists becoming ship designers.
We saw the disruption happening even when we were in university. The coaching centers which were coming about.
Yes.
That disruption had begun.
Yes. So, for example,
25
what
years ago.
NIIT did more for creating Indian software sector than all the other degree walas combined.
It was just about beginning. I remember when we were getting into college and all that if you didn't get into IIT, then you get into REC. If you don't get into REC, then you got into NIIT. And then it became
the NIIT people were doing it on the side. I mean, many people may be doing an English degree and doing NIIT in the evenings.
on the side, but then slowly
So this will become the standard because at any age you can learn you will need to learn new skills all the time. The current system is what? You go to university till age 25.
This is the reform that you are thinking was going to happen.
Well, this is going to happen whether I reform my system or not. Okay. So what used to be the case that till 25 you got some education, but because knowledge is stable and technology is relatively speaking in the context of a lifetime of a person, over 30 years is relatively stable. You have, therefore, that education takes you through. Okay? And so, today what will happen is in a high changing environment, the guys in their 50s who are now in their positions of power are the most outdated guys in the system taking decisions. So, this whole education system is gone, right?
You have been posting a lot, writing a lot about the UPSC. And this obsession, national obsession to take the UPSC.
Yes, it's a complete waste of time because frankly...
You and I are products of that in the sense that our
parents were and it may have been a great idea in the 1960s, but times have changed. I mean, being a stenographer may have been a good option for somebody in the 1940s. So what? So technology has changed and it is not just changed, it is now become a routine affair. Every few months your phone is getting upgraded and is able to do something new. Now I cannot have a curriculum that can keep up with it in the way that university education currently functions. Upgrading my entire professor faculty in that way is very difficult to do. So AI will just be vastly superior at delivering cutting edge knowledge. Now that doesn't mean that universities have nothing to do. They're just that doing it the way they're doing it today is a waste of time. So what you need to do is to much more oriented toward apprenticeships and actual skills because the industry is ahead of academia. Right? So you need to get people into jobs early. In fact, there are people like Elon Musk or Vembu here in India who and I subscribe to it. You should actually think that at 18 people find jobs. And they go to work and they do degrees on the side. And, immediately somebody will say, oh, but what about the social aspects of going to university? Well, guess what? till the 20th century, people didn't have social lives. In fact, even today, the bulk of human beings don't go to university. Don't they have social lives?
I just felt I was wasting my time in college. I mean, I was getting the education, but there were 5 to 6 hours where I was doing nothing, and I felt like.
Well, I hardly ever attended the class, so I mean, I enjoyed university, but it had nothing to do with attending class and imbibing.
Yes, so you can do so much more because today technology.
Yeah, so go to. I would have thought if systems allowed me then, I would have preferred to be at work at 18.
Yeah.
And do my classes online and take exams. And yes, you can for practicals. For example, if you want to learn surgery, you still have to go and learn it.
Correct.
Or whatever. For those kinds of things, you have classes.
So different models,
different
right?
models
different
need to
modules also. Yeah. So this universalization, which the BJP gets attacked for, that you want to universalize and you want to make one model for the entire country for everything, including education. Now,
but that can be then, you see, it can be free and open. So already the IITs, this morning only, they announced that if you want to leave after 3 years, you'll get a BSc from IIT. And I think IIT Madras or somebody has just issued this. I think it's great. And I think this should be allowed. So there are many things in the new NEP that allow for this freedom. The problem is it also includes in it outdated ideas like 4-year university degrees. Why do you need to go to university for 4 years? If I can do 3 degrees in 1 year, that's my problem.
It's going to cause disruption in many ways, and that disruption is good, you feel.
Absolutely
right?
good.
Yeah.
We need to embrace it. Artificial intelligence needs to be embraced. And will it cause a great deal of disruption? Yes, it will. But those of us who imbibe it fast will be able to use it as a tool to upgrade ourselves. After all, what is technology? Technology is basically something that allows a low-skill person to do a high-skill job. Okay? So now somebody with lower skills can do things that would have required a lot of training and education earlier. So it would have taken you a long time to reach the level of knowledge of a top-end lawyer. Today, AI can make a 18-year-old with a high school degree be able to get to at least some part of the journey. Now you may still need some, at the margin, non-codified knowledge of a lawyer will still be needed. But 80% can be done.
Sanjeev, you are an economist, you're an academician, but you're also sitting in bureaucracy. You're sitting with the bureaucrats around there formulating policy. Do you see them adapting to this new world?
I think you will be surprised how fast Indian bureaucrats adjust. I think the mental image of Indian civil servants needs to be upgraded a little bit.
Okay.
Now, I'm not speaking for every single one, but, anybody who knows me knows that I am an extremely disruptive person.
Yes, that's what I want to know. You're a lateral entry. How do they accept you and your radical ideas?
And you will be surprised how many of my radical ideas have been implemented just in the last few months. And so you will be also surprised to know that there are several fairly radical civil servants in the system. Like, for example, you have Mr. Rajiv Gauba, who's been given the job of doing the reforms. He's now in Niti Aayog, but former cabinet secretary. And you have seen a slew of reforms which are driven by his office. I work very closely with him. And there are many others as well. So what it requires, you see, as in any large number of people, there are always 20-25% of the people who want to go out, do stuff, are adventurous, intellectual, want to be intellectually challenged. And there are always 20-25% who don't want change or are, etc. And then there are 50% who go with whatever is the prevailing culture. That'll be true of your organization as well.
Culture has... You see, there are also those status quoists who have benefited for generations from that. And they're going to perpetuate, or they want to perpetuate.
Absolutely. So this will be true of any large, even in a corporate it will be true.
Of course, yeah.
So the question is, therefore, who is the leadership? So in a government system, it's the political leadership. So if the political leadership provides opportunity and encourages the change makers, the reformers, then the overall culture also shifts. It's not just they succeeding. About 50% who are generally go with whatever is the prevailing culture will also shift to that. Suddenly you will have 80% of the system delivering in a particular direction.
So what is that one reform that India hasn't tackled as yet, which keeps you awake at night?
Well, I sleep very well, so it doesn't keep me awake. But I would say that I think if you see all the big central government reforms that needed to be done, labor laws done, insolvency and bankruptcy, cleaning up of the banks, now more recently pulling back all the QCOs, the quality control orders. I think at the central government, we have now reached a point where our systems are reasonably good. I'm not saying you can't improve it. There are some more things we can do. I think if you saw the Honorable Finance Minister talked about cleaning up the customs system and so on.
Supply side reforms.
Mostly what we are doing is supply side reforms. I am a supply side person. I have no question about it. That doesn't mean we don't care about the demand side. The demand side, however, is managed as a stability, not a driver of growth. So we are very much into macro stability. So we do pay attention to the demand side, but you will see we are very, very conservative. Even at the height of COVID, we made sure the monetary and fiscal side was very restrained. So that has resulted in good things. It has anchored our system. It has brought inflation down structurally. But that is not what generates growth. It creates the stability of the system to do the supply side part, which are all these process reforms, the structural reforms that we are doing. And you will see a few of them announced all the time. I write extensively about them. So that is what generates the forward movement. It's like a bicycle. There is a balance part, which is the demand side, and there is a forward movement, which is the supply side. Now, if you try to generate forward growth through the demand side, for the most part, it will generate bad outcomes, except during a shock. So, I understand if there's a demand shock, you may want to...
Like during COVID.
But even there, if you remember, we were very, very restrained, and we did some, but we were restrained about it. So, this is something we think about a lot, and we are doing continuous reforms. Now, on the central government front, we are doing very well. But the next generation of reforms has to be about something somewhat different. And there are two things that I have spoken about extensively. One of them is we've got to be serious at some point about judicial and legal system reforms.
Correct. Yes.
Right? This is something absolutely critical. The second thing, we have got to do something about municipal management. This is not a central government thing.
Yes,
we have got to do something about our cities.
Yes.
So let me explain. 35 years ago, when I was at university, I used to think that our cities are badly run and the amenities are poor and so on because we were a poor country. And it was true. But now 35 years later, we have certainly become richer than that. We are still poor maybe by global average or whatever, but we are certainly radically richer than we were 30 years ago. But our cities have not really improved. The odd metro system may have come in, etc. But by and large, the quality of life of our cities is not very much significantly better in the public sphere. The private sphere may be different. Better restaurants are there. We have removed, they have replaced the old movie theaters with now fancy multiplexes, etc. From the private sphere, it has upgraded. The public spaces, however, have not really upgraded for the most part. And this is something we need to take seriously. Compare that with, for example, Vietnam, country which is roughly at the same per capita income. You go to Ho Chi Minh City, you go and look at the public amenities. They are clean. There's not a case of a lot of money to be spent. This is a matter of civic pride. So we need to think through our municipal management, and it is not that we cannot clean them when we set our minds to it. After all, I remember Indore being just one of the most dirty industrial towns, like any other.
Surat also.
Or all of these. They got cleaned up. So when same systems, same IAS officers and bureaucrats. So if you set your mind to it, you go to Bhopal also reasonably clean. And then you come to the national capital.